Good evening, everybody. It is like Wednesday, like Glenn says, and I'm going to try and be as excited as Glenn. It is Wednesday night, and Wednesday night is map show night. Tonight is map show number 123. It's the 123rd one in the series that we've been following. For all our online viewers and listeners, please introduce yourself, leave comments and questions in the comment section. Our speaker tonight is going to be Rian Berger, who's going to be talking to us about Trailblazer. So shortly after this little intro, over to Rian.
Good evening, everybody. It's a privilege to be here. So for everybody that's live tonight, welcome. For those that's watching the recording, welcome as well. I said to Annie before the time, I see I've got a bit of a glare tonight of my computer. I apologize for that. But it's a huge privilege to talk to you tonight. And like Annie said, when I discussed with Glenn has got some personal stuff that he needs to sort out, and we chatted about leading the conversation. And I said to him, Glenn, I want to call it Trailblazer. I'm currently reading the book Trailblazer. It's a book from the South African trail runner, Rian Sands. It's actually a book that has been published, I think, around 2015-16. I have not finished. I've got a few chapters left, but the book inspired me. I think it's because I'm a trail runner as well. I'm not a good one, I must say. I'm wearing my Klipspringer hoodie tonight. That is my one of the trail races that I enjoy a lot. It's at the Ograbis Falls every year. I was there. I was trailblazing one of the first around 36 guys or something, Oaks that did the race, but that's a story for another day. Today we're talking about Mr. Sands. So Rian Sands is one of the best known South African trail runners. And this book, Trailblazer, is basically how he got into trail running and his first few races and adventures that he's been doing. Like I said, it's world-renowned, and the book started on how he started running, which is actually very interesting because he wasn't a runner, but he was more of a party animal. But his friends has challenged him to say, let's go and do the 21 half marathon at the Oyster Festival in Knysna. I think around 2006-07, thereabout. And when he entered, there was no more entries left. He said he can't go that far for a 10K. There was still 42 K entries. So he entered, and I think he had a podium finish. And he realized he can run. So, that's a story. He became a trail running, and I think why they call it Trailblazer is he was basically blazing a trail for trail running in South Africa. Yes, trail running was known by the time that Mr. Sands got up on the stage, but I think with his exposure and the media and everything else, that he brought with him and the exciting races that he did, he really put trail running in South Africa on the forefront. And I think, a lot of people started joining, a lot of people started being interested in trail running. Sponsors came on board. We are seeing much more trail runs nowadays than we've seen a few decade or two ago. So I really think Mr. Sands, Rian Sands, was a trailblazer. So the book is not only because he's running these interesting trails. I think he was also blazing a trail within the South African trail running and in the world trail running fraternity. It's also about the adventures, and he explains as he goes through the different races, what went through his mind and what happened, his preparations, everything. So, I love the sport. I love trail running per se. And that's why I love and why I'm calling it Trailblazer tonight. But I also realize, that I'm a trailblazer, not because I love trail running, but I've got a purpose. And in Map for Life, we learn that I've got a purpose, a unique purpose that the world cannot do without. And I'm a trailblazer because I need to create a way, a route, a trail where there's currently none. I need to go and live my purpose, and I need to go and introduce the world to my unique purpose, what God has put in my heart. And I need to be the trailblazer for the unique purpose that God has given me. And that is why tonight is so exciting for me, not only to look at a few things from the book and about trail running per se, but how can we make that active in our lives every day? Because each one of us sitting here, we are people that have a purpose, and we need to live that purpose. So before we jump in that, I don't want to do a whole book review. I want to say, so far in the book, there's 4 things that really is standing out for me about this book from Rian Sands, A Trailblazer. So the first thing that I picked up is when he's committed to something, to a goal, he goes full out. In his own words, I'm paraphrasing now what Mr. Sands said. He says he goes balls to the wall. It means he leaves nothing out there. If he's going to do something, he goes full out. He prepares, he trains, he's doing this work-life balance while he was not a professional athlete. He really goes full out for it. There's nothing stopping him. And that's one of the things. And still, even up to today, I remember, I think at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, Reino Griesel, one of his friends, and Rian Sands ran around Lesotho. It was 1,100 and something kilometers. He goes full out. He is 100% committed. The second thing that I like is the whole time continually referring back to his roots. Why is he running? And every time, he says in every race, when he wants to start giving up, and when he's training for a race, when he's working hard and things go wrong and the body starts complaining, then he thinks about the reason. And his reasons is he loves running. He loves a trail running community. He loves running in nature, in the mountains, in the deserts, wherever he's running. He loves it. And when he starts questioning himself, he starts looking around him at the bushes, at the valleys, at the sea, at the desert, wherever he's at. And he starts telling himself, that's why I'm running. That's why I'm doing the trails. He's being rooted the whole time. He knows he's being grounded in his reason, in his passion, in his motivation, in his enthusiasm to keep on running. All of us will get there, but he knows every athlete starts questioning, is it really worth my while? Yes, it is worth his while, because he loves running. He loves the community. He loves the nature that he's running in. The third reason that I liked, and he tells a story that I'm going to share now. When he got to Germany, it's one of the first times he went to run a 100-kilometer race, a trail run there in the mountains in Germany, the first time in Europe. Quite a bit different to South African races that he's done before and elsewhere in the world. So when he gets to this race, about 30 k's in, he's really flabbergasted. He is done. He says the mind, the body, everything was just gone. And he started in his mind looking for a reason to say, listen, why can't I quit this race? Let me get lost, or let me fake an injury, or let me do something. But I don't want to finish this race. I'm tired of it. And while he was thinking that, he said, Rian, you know what? There's guys that's organizing this race that worked very hard. They worked for a year to organize this race. You've got sponsors that's backing you up. You've got people, a family, and a support system back home that is supporting you. You've got fellow runners here. And you are a runner. You love running. How can you quit? Because you're not having a good day, you're going to quit. That's not the way it's going to work. And he said to himself, you know what? I'm gonna go all the way to the end. I refuse to quit. And he went on, he even started feeling better, and he had an okay finish. He didn't have a podium finish that day. But you know what? The most important thing is, he said he will not quit. He will not quit. And the fourth thing that I learned from this book is his meticulous preparations and planning. When he wants to do a race, he finds out everything there is to find out. The temperature, the humidity in the air, the altitude, the climbing, the ascents that we call it, how much we're climbing, the type of climbs. Is it sand? Is it mountain? Then he goes and he trains in a Drakensberg if it's at altitude. He goes and trains on the beach if it's going to be in the sand in the deserts. They even have a chamber at UCT that they can set the temperature, the humidity, everything that you're going to experience in a race. He even raced in Antarctica. He trained in that chamber at UCT with Prof. Tim Noakes. So his preparation was spot on. It was excellent. And these are the 4 things I learned in the book. And now you can say to me, Rian, whatever, I'm not here for a class or a coaching class and running. I don't even like running. What has that got to do with Map for Life? I am so glad you're asking these wonderful questions. Thank you very much. I would love to answer. You have a unique purpose in the world, sir or madam, and the world cannot do without that. This purpose is not about you. That's what we teach people in Map for Life. It's not about us. This purpose is about serving the people around us. Glenn likes to use the seed metaphor. The seed has not been created for itself. The seed does not use the seed. The seed gets planted. The seed grows. The seeds start multiplying. And you can literally start with one seed for a tree. You can start a forest. So with our lives, we've got a purpose. And the purpose is to serve and to live for other people, not to live for ourselves. Now, saying that, getting back to Mr. Sands, I can pull those 4 things back to our lives. In terms of purpose, are you committed? Are you sold out on your purpose? Are you going to do everything? Are you committed until death do us part from this world? Are you going to be living your purpose? Are you going to be living purposefully? The second thing is, do you know your motivation? Do you know why you are, your purpose? Do you know why you're living the way that you want to live? Like Mr. Sands had to every now and then think about this grounding. You need to understand, I live purposefully. My personal purpose is to help people to get victory in their lives. I need to understand. I need to understand this purpose of mine. And I need to understand how God has created me. That creates passion and energy. And I need to regularly check back and say, Rian, you've been made for a purpose. This is creating passion. This is creating energy. Keep on doing it. You need to get back to your motivation and live purposefully. The third reason is, are you relentless in staying the purpose course? I told you the story about Germany and Mr. Sands. Are you committed? Or are you the one that's looking for faking an injury or looking for getting lost on purpose only to get out of the race because you want to quit? What is limiting you? What is pushing you to want to quit? And are you the one that will say, you know what? Even if they need to carry me in a stretcher, I will be there at the end. That's what we need. Purposeful trailblazers. That's what we need. And the fourth thing, do you plan your journey? Do you prepare for what is lying ahead? And you know what? Do you map your own life? Because we are all here because we know Map for Life. But I want to ask you, do you map your own life? Do you map your own purpose? Do you have the map that shows you the plan? And are you taking a meaningful action that says, I am preparing to live purposefully? And those are the four things, and those are the things from the book. So the world needs us to be purpose trailblazers. And now you can say, okay, Rian, I understand what you were trying to say, but how am I going to do it? I don't know how. Well, if you've been listening to this Map Clubs for the past few weeks, Glenn was talking about being mapped, M-A-P-D. So, yes, we can live purposely. We can be purpose trailblazers. How? Thank you once again for asking these great questions. You know, you're a very insightful audience. How can you be mapped? Well, I said the M stands for you've got the motor inside of you. The motor, M for motor, or the engine. What do I mean? You have the motor or the engine. God has given it to you so that you do not only need to survive the journey, you can actually enjoy the journey. You can make it and you can exceed. I want to tell you a quick story that I read yesterday in one of our papers here in South Africa. It's about a guy called Rian. It's a different Rian than this Rian that's sitting here. But this guy just broke a record. He's staying in London. He broke a record for running the National 3 Peaks Challenge in Britain. So what they do, they run over the highest mountain in Scotland, in England, and in Wales. These mountains are called the Ben Nevis Peaks, the Scaffold Peak, and the Mount Snowdon. So these peaks, when you do a traverse over these, it's 700 kilometers. This guy broke the record by 25 hours. He's done it in 7 days, 11 hours, and 6 seconds. I want to tell you something about Rian Greef. When he was between 13 years and 16 years of age, he had 5 knee operations. He wanted to do sport, but he couldn't. So he did stuff, but at varsity he realized he's getting addicted to pain medication because he needed the pain medication because he was always constantly in pain. And he stopped sport altogether. They moved to London, he got married, and he sat there in a service of CRC, Christian Revival Center in London, and he was listening to a service. And halfway through the service, it was a remote service. It was on another campus in London. So the preacher stops and says, I need to pray for someone. God showed me there's a young man that needs his legs to be healed. He said he jumped up, and as he jumped up, he felt heat all over his body. And when the heat left his body, he know he was healed, and all the pain was gone. That happened in 2016. Since then, this guy started running. He started running 100 milers. He started doing all kinds of challenges, and he does it to get money and the donations for, I think they call it For Africa, non-profit organization that gives food to orphans and in 7 countries in South Africa. This guy has found his purpose, and he always thought he doesn't have the motor for it, but God has given him the motor, the engine to do it. God has given you the engine. He's giving you the motor, the motor, to do the job you need to do. The A stands for you've got the agility and you've got the adaptability. What do I mean with that? Agility, you need agility to overcome your limitations. The world wants to tell you the whole time, listen, you will not make it. You need to be agile. You will get limitations. You will get these things that want to stop you, these barriers. Most of you might have heard about this guy. His name is Nick Vujicic. He doesn't have legs and he doesn't have arms. Yet this guy is a motivational speaker. He's married. He's got children. He's been skydiving. He's been scuba diving. He's been surfing. He has been skiing in the Alps, all over the ship, without legs, without arms. This guy is agile. He learns us. He teaches us what agility means. You are agile as well. Let's stop looking for the reason not to do things and start using the agility God gave us, the adaptability to overcome any difficult circumstances. The P in MAPT stands for 2 things. You are a pioneer. What do I mean a pioneer? There's a book I read, Steve Saint. His father was killed in an Amazon forest by one of the tribes there. Steve Saint himself went back to that tribe and he led all of them to God. He then pioneered a new way of doing missionary work. Up to that stage, missionary work was, I'm taking my Christianity, my culture, and I'm going to force it to someone else. What Steve Saint has learned and what he pioneered and what God used him to do is a new way of doing missionary work by respecting and giving dignity to the people that you are actually ministering to. Wonderful work is done. He's a pioneer. And with the pioneer goes a thing, the presence. Each of us has a presence. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, you've got a presence and you need to use it. The P stands for you are a pioneer in your purpose and you've got a presence. Let's use it. And the last one, the D in MAPT, stands for discipline and discovery. The discipline to keep on doing the right thing. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of strength, of love, and of self-control or discipline. God has given us discipline. Let's use discipline. Let's be disciplined in our purposeful life. And the last one is let's discover the journey that God has given us. Let us discover each and every tool God has put in us to live this life, a purposeful life, and making a difference for someone else. I want to challenge you. Go out, Use the motor that God has given you. Use the agility and adaptability that's part of you. Use this pioneering spirit and this presence that you've got, and discover in a disciplined way the destination, the destiny that God has given you to live in a day like today. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you, Annie.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Rian. That was very inspiring. I see there's quite a few online viewers that joined. Please introduce yourself. Keep the comments and the questions flowing. Let me introduce the panel tonight. Rian, I'm dead sure you know by now. Thank you, Rian. I'm going to ask for Gustav and for Marvin, and I'll start with Marvin to just introduce yourself, 15, 20 seconds. Marvin?
Hi, everybody. My name is Marvin Hawkins. I'm a map coach and facilitator. I'm based here in Pretoria, happily married to one wife and two kids. Been with MAP for close to 10 years and enjoying being part of the group. Thanks.
Thank you. Gustav?
Yes, Gustav Pistorius. I'm an industrial engineer doing consulting work, and I follow the Map for Life that also assist me in the consulting work in terms of business improvement. And it is basically a springboard for any improvement. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be here tonight with you.
Thank you very much. So far, Quentin is saying hello from a freezing Cape Town. Hello, Quentin. I think you said quite a few things during your talk, Rian. So I'm not going to ask you what stood out for you from your talk. I'm sure you know. Let me go to Marvin. Marvin, what was the 2 or 3 things that stood out for you from Rian's talk?
Rian, a fantastic talk, Rian. I think what was stood out for me, I actually didn't know that he never really was a runner. I myself being a runner, I found that quite inspirational. You know, these guys that are top at their game sometimes don't even know that they're top at their game. And it takes somebody to recognize, even if it's in the form of a dare, to say, hey, come on, let's try this thing. And next thing you see, they have a podium finish. And you know, the fact that Rian is somebody that's so dedicated to going all out is the thing that was really encouraging, because I think many times we want to kind of just try something. You just kind of put your toe in the water and just feel what the temperature is instead of diving in. And I think for him, having dove in and having seen success quite quickly in his first race is really inspirational. It's unfortunately not true for everybody. So I hope not everybody's just going to decide to enter a race and expect to win. But I think that the key takeaway for there is you got to start. You got to try. The minute you try and give yourself an opportunity, you don't know. You don't know if that is your gifting and your talent. And it's good to have people around you that will push you to put that first foot forward.
Thank you, Gustav. What did you take from the talk?
Yes, what stood out was the tenacity in spite of difficulties like knee injuries and also circumstances. And for all of us, it is very easy to find excuses due to circumstances not to follow our destiny, basically. And sometimes your destiny changes due to circumstances, but the core point is to decide where's your passion and to develop the discipline to follow what your destiny is, and your passion gives you an indication of your destiny as well. One thing that is also quite important is to develop a habit, which means you have to keep to what you are doing, or in spite of difficulties, you have to keep in doing that for at least a month on a daily basis, so that it becomes a habit, and then your body starts to motivate you as well to do what you want to do. And in Map for Life, that is sometimes a reason for not doing it, by not being disciplined enough. So thanks, Rian. It was a good talk, Wes. Thanks.
Yeah. To add to it, I'm a road runner myself, and you're right. Habits are very important. If you don't practice every day, it is not easy to go and run a race. And I've been at the stages where work limited me from actually practicing, and I rocked up for a race, and the race wasn't easy at all. And I've been to races where I had a good week, 2 weeks building up to the race, and it's just that much easier. Um, the one thing that I heard somewhere through the talk, without calling it specifically, that Rian, was road runners in general talk about hitting the wall. You sometimes get a point where you start hitting the wall, and I sort of semi heard that this guy at 30 k's or so also struck the proverbial wall in his running. Any comments from your side on the wall and how to get past it?
Yeah, I think, thank you. He definitely hit the wall a few times, and I think, nowadays he's running 100 milers, so that's 167 kilometers basically. So you are not hitting the wall, you are hitting a few balls in there. And I think what I've been taught, when you hit the wall, is to continue. Literally, you focus on the next 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. You're literally taking it from one step to the other. And typically, hitting the wall is your body saying, it's basically breaking down, and your brain starts agreeing with your body, enough is enough, And that's why it's important for your brain to say, but we can continue another step. And as you continue through, in this instance that I referred to, where Ryan hit the wall on 30 k's, he continued, and at about 60 or 70 kilometers, he actually started feeling good again, and he started running much better. So the guys are talking a lot about it. It's a psychological thing, this hitting the wall. But I think in terms of what we want to do in Map for Life as well is, you know your purpose. When you find your purpose, you discover it, you are very excited and everything, and then you also hit the wall. You hit the wall, and it feels like this is going nowhere. I'm wasting my time. This Map for Life, this purpose, this nonsense, it's, yes, there's 10 people in the world that can live by it. I'm not one of them. You hit the wall, and everything inside you tell you. And that's the time you need to say, and that's what I want to go back to Gustav's point on the habits. That's where you say, you know what, I'm going to continue my habits. And continuing the habits will get you past the wall, and you will start feeling better and starting building up positive momentum again. And before long, you will be running a great race again, or in this instance, you will be starting to living purposefully again. But your habits are very important, and you need to maintain them. So yes, I agree with Gustav on the habits.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about habits, because I'm already starting. The people start to know me as the habit guy, because I really focus on habits, because they are so important. Just quickly, another story, and I read it about 25 years ago, so I can't remember all the details perfectly, but maybe you have heard it before. There was some other race in Australia that it was something like 260 miles or something like that. It was a very long race. but there's no rules to almost to this race and when you can run. So there was a starting point and there was an end point, and you run and sleep as and when you want to. Um, and the record for this thing was something like 7 days or something like that. It was something ridiculous. And then this guy working on a farm, a poor guy working on a farm, saw an advert that says there's $10,000 up, Aussie dollars up for grabs if you win this race, and he was in dire need of a tractor at that stage. So he rocked up to do this race. Um, but he rocked up in his work clothes. He had like his safety boots or his working boots on, etc. And some of the professional athletes, they were laughing at him because they had their running shorts and everything on. And when the race started, they went off at their pace and they ran. And this guy, and I don't know if his name was Wally, he just sort of got this shuffle, and he just started with this shuffle, this constant pace that he was going at. And he was doing this thing. And for the first day, I think he ran for 22 hours and he slept for 2 hours. And then he woke up and he started running again and he started running again. And long story short, he got to the end 5 days and 20 hours earlier than the record. And the people said to him, so why didn't you sleep? And he said, well, I didn't know I could sleep. Nobody told me that I was allowed to sleep, etc., etc. So this guy just had a vision to say, I need this money and I'm going to finish this race. No matter if everything is in my favor. I'm older than everybody else. I don't have the running shoes, the gear, whatever I need, but I know where I'm going and I'm going to get there. I sort of felt that based on the book you're reading right now, on your trailblazing that you spoke about. Marvin, you also got that idea?
You know, it's quite funny. Today I was having a very similar discussion with a colleague of mine who's just started running. He's actually a rugby player. He plays local club rugby, and he's been asking me for coaching tips on how to run. And I find it so coincidental that we're having this discussion because we spoke about hitting the wall, and he's heard about this phrase and he doesn't understand it. And he was explaining to me, you know, in rugby you also hit the wall, and he says what he's learned is the only way to get over that is when you're feeling flat and you just don't feel list for anything, is you make sure you go for the ball. The minute you get the ball, automatically your mind just switches gear because you know if you have the ball, you can't stand still. You can't wait. You got to get into action mode and do something. He says, but how do you translate that into running? And I said to him, according to my own knowledge of my running experience, etc., is you've got to what Rian was saying. You know, you focus on the next step and the next two steps, but also don't do it alone. If you can hook up with somebody that will just kind of walk you through for the first 10, 20 kilometers, just to get over that block, that wall, that thing that's stopping you, then it'll help you to get that extra second wind, as they call it. And I think, you know, it's important in life to also adopt the same thing. Life is not meant to be lived alone. It's important to be with somebody that's been where you're going, so they can pull you along, and somebody that's on your lane, that's in and with you on the same team to push you and keep you going. Because every day is not going to be your best day. Every day you're not going to feel ready for the race. But if you have somebody that's there to encourage you and push you all the whole time, similar to a map club, and then you're doing the right things. And also coming back to Gustav's point about having habits, it's tough. It's not easy to get up, especially when it's cold, when there's a cold front, it's dark. But if you have somebody that's there to encourage you to, hey, come on, we said we're going to do this, let's do it. It's so much easier to get, and that's something I learned in my training for comrades. It is important to get into a group of people that have done it and just learn from them. Just shut up and listen and do. You don't have to have any comments. You just learn and do. And that's what got me through my three comrades. So I mean, the key takeaways for me is, and my key encouragement is, don't do life alone. Find people that have been where you want to go, and tag along. Shut up and listen and do.
And I think to add to what you're saying is that is step 4 of the Map for Life methodology as well, or it's step 3, the planning, to say find somebody that's been there. Success leaves trail, so just go and speak to somebody. Also very interesting talking around the habits. I met with a gentleman called Peter Darrell, whom you might know, who's 80 years old, and I don't want to quote him incorrectly, so if I do, Peter, forgive me. But I think for the last 2 or 3 years, maybe it could be longer, Peter has not missed a day. He goes for a run every morning. He doesn't miss a day. He convinced me to go and do my first park run, which wasn't the greatest one that I picked. It was Saturday a week ago, probably the coldest day of the year. I went to go and do my park run, which I did finish. So yeah, but I do think it is about habits, and Gustav, you spoke about it. I mean, we keep on coming back to the habits, um, and how to get to it. You also mentioned and maybe you can elaborate on that. But habits is not something that happens in 7 days. Habits is a long forming process.
Yes. Actually, in terms of habits and actually the whole concept that we are talking about, you've got 4 enemies, and two Olympic, actually 1 Olympic coach and 1 martial arts coach gave me these 4, and the first enemy is hitting the wall, and the second one negative talk, and then the third one is success, and the fourth one is not having positive affirmations. So if you the hitting the wall is natural. It's if you overtrain, you get to a point where you hit the wall, and so the negative, and that's when the negative self-talk sometimes starts as well. So the negative self-talk, you counter that with positive affirmations, and you never allow negative self-talk. The moment you find yourself to think negatively, you have to correct it by positive affirmation. And the best is to have a couple of positive affirmations where you actually see the end result. You visualize the end result, because that creates a cognitive dissonance in your brain, where your brain sees the end result, but your body doesn't experience the end result. So the brain starts to motivate you, and when you hit the wall and you do that, you also take a break, but the break mustn't be too long. Normally, if you overtrain, take a break for a day, and so that you can start again. But if you take it too long, then you break the habit. Then the one of success is when you say, for instance, you want a race, you actually start to rest for a week, and that week that you rest is breaking the habit. So you can celebrate for a day or two, and then you must get on to back into working your end result. And then the part of this is also your positive self-talk is to tell other people also about the affirmation, because that gives you dedication, and that prevents you from breaking the habit as well. And it's similar to having a friend that can support you. The moment you share it with a friend, the support becomes also stronger.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any comments coming through tonight, so I'm assuming most of these people aren't runners and they're scared to put something on there. So let's start moving away from the running. Most of you probably know the story about Roger Bannister. There was the they call it the 4-minute barrier for the mile, and people were always trying to break that 4-minute barrier to try and run a mile in under 4 minutes. And scientists and everybody went and proved that it was impossible to do it. And then a gentleman by the name of Rogers Bannister broke the mile in under 4 minutes. He ran, I think, 3:58, something like that. The funny thing is, in that same year, another 12 people managed to do it. So what was worldly impossible was broken by somebody that had a vision to say, I want to get below the 4-minute barrier. And even though we're using a theme of running here, I think in life it's the same thing. Whether I put my mind on a race and where I'm going, or whether I'm focusing on achieving something in life, the world is always going to sketch a different picture than the picture that's in your mind. And I think if your vision is great enough, if you know where you're going, then I don't think there's anything that can stop you, even if it's worldly impossible. If you believe that you can do it and you put in your effort and you build your habits, I do think it is possible to achieve that. Rian, agree with that?
Yeah, I actually like what Gustav was saying, when the 4 things, because one of the things he mentioned was success. And in Map for Life, we don't talk about success, we talk about significance. And I always tell the people, getting back to life, if you chase success in your life, it's still about you, because success is I am the one on the podium, I am the one that won, I am the one that's the best. But significance, I always say to people, significance is to serve rather than being served. It is to pay the price rather than receiving the price. And it's to be humble rather than to take pride in your own life. And for me, that is exactly when we hit the wall in life. Let's stop worrying about success and let's start thinking about significance. Let's
Yeah, what's wrong?
Sorry, everything went black on my side. I apologize. But yeah, sorry, any day back, I don't know what happened. I don't know whether I had a power dip or something. Yeah? But in any case, so I think it is very important. And as you said now, with this 1 mile story, there's so many man-made limitations we put in our life. And I want to refer back to that chap, Nick Vujicic, the guy without the arms and the legs. I mean, what kind of life was he supposed to have? Here's a guy that basically got a body and he's got a head. That's literally all. He's got a small little foot on the one side. And I mean, that was it. His life was done. Before it even began, people told him, get out of here. What can you do? Sorry, you're worthless. You're useless. And at the end of the day, he just decided he's not. And like I said, I mean, that guy has been skydiving. He's been surfing with guys in Australia. He's been down the oceans, scuba diving. Name it, he's doing it. He's living a full life. He's having a wonderful family, everything, because he decided, life will not put limits on me. And we need to stop thinking why we can't do things, and we need to start. And that's why I said the last point is discovery. Let's start discovering what God, this gems. We talk about the gems in Map for Life, but God has put so many gems inside of us. We need to really go out and explore and discover what God has put in me. Nick Vujicic discovered how much gems God has put in him, and he's living a full life, regardless whether he's got arms and legs. And we need to start having that attitude and be agile in life today.
Marvin, your thoughts on the, let's call them worldly limitations? We've lost your sound, Marvin.
How about now? Okay.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, I was saying, if you constantly, there's a saying that Henry Ford says, if you believe you can, and if you're right, if you believe you can't, you're right. So the hard thing is making sure that you deal with this area, because that's the toughest part. And I guess that's why the Bible says that we need to renew our minds, be transformed by the renewal of our minds. because it's the one area that will either make us or break us. It's the one area that will get you to the finish line, no matter what the finish line is for you, or not. It's the one area that's the one thing that'll get you to the end. I remember many disciplines of sport that I'm doing. If I believed what I was looking at the whole time, I would never have completed that I was tasked to do. And I'm talking about work stuff. I'm talking about stuff sport wise, and I'm talking about stuff I needed to do within my family. Um, it's important to make sure that where your focus is and what you're looking at aligns with the outcome that you want. Because if you're going to constantly think about circumstances and think about the things that you don't have and not focus on the fact that you can do something, um, then you're going to be in that limiting position. And again, I'll come back to the point of making sure that you have the right sort of company that will get you to the end, get you to the finish line, especially people that have been where you want to go, because they know the journey, they know the sacrifices, they know the pain, they know the many walls that you'll hit, but they also know how to overcome it. And it's important not to do life alone.
Agree. Any wise words from your side, Gustav, on how to get past the worldly limitations?
Yeah, it's basically not allowing a self-talk, and like I said, also your positive affirmations and your vision. Vision in the sense of visualizing the end result in terms of if you assist people and you assist other people to actually to excel. The best way is to visualize that in terms of a picture. What do you see, and then also use your senses in how do you feel when you actually see the success of other people, and if you can't see that, it sometimes becomes a vague destiny for yourself. Also, in terms of what's your purpose in life. So by visualizing, you actually strengthen your purpose in life as well, because you clarify where your basically you clarify your map, and we're talking about your vision board. That's why the vision board is very important. That it actually becomes not only a picture in front of you, but it becomes something that you hear and smell and feel in your mind, and you support that with positive affirmations. The other thing that I may mention also in the martial arts where I was training in Okinawa, they never corrected a mistake. They only taught you a new technique. So and the idea behind that is, if you correct a mistake, you concentrate on the wrong. But if you learn a new technique, you concentrate on the new technique and you forget about the wrong technique. And similar to what we do, if we concentrate on our weaknesses and things that may prevent us from doing what we want to do, then it is actually breaking down your motivation and your discipline. So one should not allow that in your brain. I think that self thinking and self talk is a very important aspect of Map for Life as well.
Henny, if I can maybe add,
You can.
just today, this morning, I was hosting a session with one of my members in my MAP club, and somebody that I wanted her to meet just to inspire a little bit. And I think a thing that really stood out for me, just listening to how this friend was being encouraged by the person that I wanted her to meet, was how he was direct with her. He said, "Everything you're telling me is an excuse. It's not that you don't have time. It's not that you don't have money. It's not that you don't have anything. You've got everything you need. So what's the problem?" And she was speechless. I think, in line with what Gustav is saying, again, it's important to have the right sort of people around you to flag when you've convinced yourself that you can't do something. Because while we can be super talented, while we can either have all the resources or not have any resources, we can easily convince ourselves that why we can't do it. And we'll find the best of excuses, the most creative of excuses. And meanwhile, we actually do have everything we need. And the most important thing is just the decision to do something and follow through with that. Um,
Mm.
and again, I apologize for repeating myself about doing life alone and not doing so. But I think, what is great is having somebody outside of our map club tell us something that I've been telling her for a while. It's like the lights went on. Okay, I am lazy. I'm funny. Yeah, I thought I'll just leave that point there. Leave it at that.
I read a quote this week that says, "Of all the liars in the world, the worst are our fears." Richard Kipling said that, and I think that is the reason why I think we're finding excuses. Just quickly, comments from the people. So Quentin said, "My takeaway from this talk is to hang with those who are on the same path." Yes, 100%. And I think that's the reason why we do have Map Cafes, why we do have this talk, why we do group together. I'm Afrikaans, so I hope I don't have it wrong. There's a saying in English, birds of the same feather flock together, something like that. That is also very true. Then Sankwe from Zambia, welcome aboard, Sankwe. He says, "Sorry, I entered late and I had challenges getting in." Sankwe, you've missed nothing. We spoke about perseverance, dedication, never giving up. It took you 40 minutes. You managed to still get on the call. Well done. You've missed nothing. You've already gotten the lesson. And then Sankwe's got a question for the panel. He says, "Would you encourage someone to meditate to stay focused?" Your thoughts on that?
Well, any from my side, obviously, the Bible is full of examples where people were waiting on the Lord. What that is meditating. So I think meditate on the Word of God. Our purpose comes from God. We call it a calling, according to me in any case. And so meditation to wait on God. There's nothing wrong. I think it's great. You must meditate and you must wait on God. Even Jesus, every day he went into the mountains alone. And what did he go and do? He went and he meditated. He waited on God for inspiration. So I'm all for one every day. One of my habits, that I'm trying to get in. I'm successful with that one at least. Is to start every day with God. Is to have a 30-minute session to do exactly what Sankwe is saying here, to meditate on his word and wait on him to find out what he's going to do and what his plan is for me today. So I'm all aboard, to meditate on God, to wait on God, and to wait on guidance. And like you said, if there's something to focus on, to use that time to meditate, to say, God, I've got this thing in my heart. I want to do this, but for whatever reason, things are not happening. And then I'm waiting on God to give me guidance and to go for the next step.
Marvin?
So I would say meditation is something that we do inevitably. I think it's important to meditate on the right thing, and meditate on the right thing long enough until you believe it, until you can see and create that visual picture in your mind of the finish line, of whatever your finish line is. If you don't do that and you don't constantly keep your vision in front of you, as Rian and Gustav were pointing, it's very easy to lose track and be sidetracked by life, because life happens to every one of us. sometimes even the closest around us will convince us not to do something, um, even though it would help everybody around. So yeah, I think it's important to meditate, and because we do that, just meditate on the right things, and doing it long enough, and keep reminding yourself what the goal is, what the end goal is, will help you to stay on track and help you get back on track if you've gone off track.
Thank you, Gustav. Martial arts background. There must be
Yes,
meditation coming in there.
yes. The Japanese traditional martial arts have a word moxu. Moxu means to clear your mind, but to clear your mind is not like in yoga. It is clearing your mind of things that actually distract you, and it is to refocus. So which is also part of meditating. So when you meditate, is to clear your mind of everything that prevents you from what your destiny is, and to refocus, and it's quite important to do that. Actually, once you do that almost every day, when as part of your praying session, that even before you pray, that you clear your mind and refocus, and then pray for that as well. So the one doesn't exclude the other. But yes, to answer the question, meditating is a very important aspect.
Yeah, theoretically, what I'm saying might not make sense. Meditation for me is the art of getting the voices in your head to just keep quiet for a moment, and they're always spinning and running. It's not easy to do that. Meditation takes some practice. If you do master the art of meditation, where you can actually be quiet and still without any of the voices interrupting you, uh, well done. You're going to be in a very good space then. Um, One last thing from my side before I'm going to ask you guys to just close. We have spoken about running, we've spoken about hitting the wall. There is something called running in the zone as well. So, for those of you that think running is not nice, you can actually take up running as well. You sometimes hit the zone, which is effortless running. And I think I can compare that to having all your habits and everything sorted, and life is just cruising. The vision board is just coming closer and closer to you. You're just seeing that happen. So, that also happens. It's hard work, but you do get there as well. So if you're not a runner, you can start running. It's not all bad. There's fun to it as well. Um, Meditation is simply a quieting of the mind. When the mind is silent, God can speak and we can listen. That is Quentin's feedback. A very wise word. Sankwe, I hope we've answered your question. I'm going to go around. Last question for everybody. Panel, from your side first, and then anybody else. Looks like Quentin and Sankwe is responding. If there's any last thoughts from your side, welcome to throw it in. Rian, last thoughts from your side.
Yes, no, thank you. I enjoyed tonight, and I enjoyed the feedback from the panel and everything. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think the challenge is out there for each one of us. Discover your purpose and live purposefully. That's what we were called to do. As you say, we can hit the zone. The zone is to be within God's will. It won't be easy. We'll be in the furnace, like Daniel's three friends, but the miracle is lying within the furnace, not outside. So stop being afraid of going into the furnace. Let your life go into the furnace, and you will experience the miracles of God like never before.
Thank you, Marvin. You muted again, Marvin.
Sorry about that. I know this one saying, for those that not sure where to start and what to do, the saying says, do what you know until you know what to do. And the key thing out of that is really start with that you know. Start with that you're busy with. At some point, you will come across something that is in line with actually your own personal purpose, that or your own personal thing that'll make you tick. In the case of Ryan, it's running, but you need to find out what is that for you. Make sure to hook up with people that can get you closer and closer to that you should be doing and want to do, and hook up with people that have been where you want to go. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gustav.
Yeah, I think what one should also remember at the beginning, it's hard work. You have to be dedicated and you have to concentrate on forming a habit. But as you do that, it becomes easier. And in the end, also not in the end, but after a while, it becomes actually very pleasant to do that. You actually want to do it. You don't want to stop. And that happens sometimes quite soon if you like I said, if you concentrate on your positive affirmations and your vision.
Thank you very much. I normally close with a quote, and I was trying to find a quote on running. This one might not be the running that we were looking for, but it says, lighthouses don't go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. So maybe we just need to stand and shine sometimes. We don't necessarily have to go and run. Just go and live and be that example for other people that sees how you're living and what you're doing, that actually then wants to come to you to say, please, can you help me? Thank you very much for the panel. Thank you, Rian, for the talk. Marvin, Gustav, for your inputs. Thank you very much for the online listeners for your feedback. Have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome night. If you've got the time and the capacity, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Terence is going to talk about the 3 R's. If you're welcome to join on that as well. Once again, thank you very much. Have an awesome evening. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.